Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Tristan Rallings, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander David Marsden. We warmly welcome the family of Private Ian James Thomson, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the Australian War Memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths of floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Ian James Thomson. Ian James Thomson was born in Albury, New South Wales on the 19th of December 1945 to Ted and Nancy Thomson. He was the eldest of 5 siblings, Wendy, Eddie, Harry and Nancy, all of whom are with us today. They were raised on a farm at Thirlmere in Wallandilly Shire, just to the southwest of Campbelltown, New South Wales. Ian attended nearby Tarmore Primary School, followed by Picton High, where his favourite subject was metalwork. After finishing school, he went into the fitting and machining trade and continued training as a toolmaker. At this time, he was also an active member of the Citizens Military Forces, but deferred his starting date for national service with the Australian Army, allowing him to complete his civilian trade. His skills meant that he was given the opportunity to transfer to the Engineer Corps, but he chose to remain with the mates he'd trained with in the infantry. Nicknamed Tomo or Stretch, Ian Thomson was a generous young man by nature and had concern and empathy for all. But he was also a larrikin. He liked nothing better than to pay a practical joke and to be on the receiving end of one in return. He rolled Jaffas down the aisle to the movies, would be the first to jump off the highest rock at the waterhole and first to ask a girl for a dance. After basic training, Ian was sent to South Vietnam. While initially assigned to 7th Battalion, the Royal Australian Regiment, Ian was allotted to the 1st Australian Reinforcement Unit at Nui Dat from mid-November to mid-December 1967, and then to Headquarters 1st Australian Task Force until April 1968. He was then assigned to serve with the 3rd Battalion, the Royal Australian Regiment, 3 RAR, joining 2 Platoon A Company. Heavy fighting took place during the Tet Offensive at the beginning of 1968, followed by a mini-Tet in May-June. During the second half of the year, the Australians were involved in a series of gruelling, lengthy operations aimed at destroying enemy units in Phuoc Tuy province and driving them from their remote bases and sanctuaries. This was designed to give the Australians better control over the province through their planned security and pacification program. Operation Capital commenced on the 12th of October 1968 in the northeastern Tuar Tik district of the province. It was a gruelling operation, patrolling daily through difficult terrain, including dense jungle, and in ceaseless rain. It was a multi-battalion operation of increasing intensity, supported by US infantry and armour. Most clashes with the Viet Cong were intermittent, fleeting contacts and an occasional intense actions, usually involving attacks on enemy bunkers. Enemy parties ranged from small groups to an estimated full company, but when they assessed the advantage, the Viet Cong would stay and fight. After one brief contact on the morning of the 19th of October, Private Thomson's 2 platoon was attacked by a company-sized enemy force using at least 3 machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades, or RPGs. Private Thomson was on the heavy M60 machine gun with his mate, Lance Corporal Paul Van Ryswyk. They quickly went to ground on the left flank and responded, pouring fire back at the Viet Cong and keeping this larger enemy force from overrunning the platoon. But soon the enemy RPG rounds were directed into the trees above the pair, raining down shrapnel and splinters, seriously wounding both men. Despite this, Lance Corporal Van Ryswyk was able to indicate that both he and Private Thomson were still in the fight. With bravery and determination, they continued firing on the enemy. Platoon Commander 2nd Lieutenant Peter Fraser called in artillery fire on the Viet Cong position, and soon shells were exploding just metres in front of the Australians. But then another volley of RPGs landed close to Private Thomson and Lance Corporal Van Ryswyk, and they were hit again. 2 of their comrades, Private Jessen and Bluser, were able to crawl over to them and between them managed to drag Private Thomson and Lance Corporal Van Ryswyk to a safer position. First aid was given, but Lance Corporal Van Ryswyk died soon afterwards. With the help of 2 American helicopter gunships that put down suppressing fire, the platoon managed to withdraw to the relative safety of the company position. Private Thomson, badly wounded but still alive, was carried out on a stretcher. but soon after arriving, he too had died. After 4 hours, the Viet Cong broke contact and withdrew, leaving 7 dead behind. In addition to the 2 machine gunners who were killed, 6 other Australians were wounded in the fight. Private Kevin Booth, who took over as section commander, was awarded the Military Medal for his actions that day. He later said that the medal belongs to the whole section and paid particular tribute to his machine gunners, Ian Thomson and Paul van Rijswijk, who held their position under heavy fire despite being wounded. They had undoubtedly saved the platoon from being overrun by a superior force and had saved many of their mates' lives. Ian Thomson's body was brought home and he was laid to rest in his hometown cemetery at Thirlmere. He was just 22 years old when he was killed in action and had only 12 days remaining on his tour of duty. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among the 520 other Australians who died while serving in the Vietnam War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Ian James Thomson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in a hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.